Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a drum roll. In this video, I'm going to basically run off a list of things that irritate me, that get on my goat, and they are things that basically, they're not world-changing things, they're not big political issues, at least most of them aren't. They're just things that get on my nerves, and I'd like to vent a little bit of steam in a way that I wasn't able to do before I had YouTube. So thank goodness for YouTube. Thank you very much. Um, so, I'll just get straight into it because I would like to try and get these within the 15 minutes. First thing, talking in the cinema. I made a video about that before. It's incredibly annoying, incredibly selfish. It's very high on my list of things that are flipping annoying. And I have had to put up with it quite a few times. Um, so yeah, that is quite irritating, and sometimes you do see people and you just want to do this. Yep, that's it. It came up. It's very selfish. There's no excuses. I'm not talking about one comment every 20 minutes that I can live with, but I'm talking about constant murmuring in the background. Shut up. I made a specific video about that. That's how annoying that is. Second thing is false advertising or misleading advertising. When you see something that is making itself out to be a lot more flexible than it is, a certain company, a certain brand. I'm not necessarily talking about things you buy on Amazon or something. I mean some sort of service, or I can't quite think of examples off the top of my head, but basically just misleading advertising when there's a hidden clause or hidden costs, or something just isn't as flexible as you would want it to be. That is high on my list. That is annoying. Um, Next one, in shops, when you see some sort of product and there's no price underneath, and it's like you just have to guess how much that is. It's ridiculous. Why do shopkeepers do this? Um, it could well be that they have the same customers all the time and those customers know what the prices are, but that's still not really an excuse because they might have other customers, and if you're trying to run a business, it's only fair that the customer has some idea of what sort of prices your products are. And surely that won't take long to do. What are we talking about? Stickers? A series of stickers? That can't be that much. Put them on your products and then they're just there. Simple. As an example, in the UK, milk is usually somewhere between £1 and, let's say, 1.40 for medium-sized milk. So, let's say I bring 150, presuming that's enough. And then it turns out to be 155, because guess what? The price wasn't there. That's never happened to me, but it doesn't mean it can't. It's irritating. That's up on my list. So yeah, basically I think shopkeepers and especially big businesses should always not take it for granted that customers, they'll presume customers know. There's a strong chance the customer won't know. I feel sorry for tourists or people visiting the country and there's no price there. It's very unfair. Just put a price. It's not hard. Okay, so that's up there. Next one. Parents who won't look after their children. I'm not talking about serious cases of neglect and that sort of thing. That's another issue. I'm talking about children who are spoilt, and parents who think it's cute to allow their children to run around, especially in a public place like a coffee shop or airport terminal or something, and you're trying to have a coffee, read a newspaper, mind your own business, and some adorable little Kevin or Megan or whatever comes up and sort of well, they're interrupting you, they're running around, now it's not the children I blame. I really don't, because they don't know any better. They're just being children. But it is the parents' responsibility to have some sort of control over them. And I'll never sort of correspond with the children directly, because what the hell do you say to someone else's child? What do you say? So I'll kind of look at the parent as if to drop a hint, like, can you kind of control your child here? And sometimes they'll do something. Sometimes they'll be so stuck up in their own conversation that they'll be like, yeah, it's just, it's very irresponsible. It's very selfish, and it's really not cute at all. No matter what they think, it is not cute. Um, balance. When it comes to parenting, balance is the issue here. Um, and I'll extend that to dog owners who won't control their dogs. They just let their dogs run around. When I have my dog, I always put him on a leash around other dogs. I give him exercise. I let him run around in open spaces. But the truth is, even if your dog seems peaceful with people, for example, dogs are unpredictable for other dogs. And even for the sake of their safety, I believe around other dogs, dogs should always be on a lead. That just goes without saying. Um, Next issue would be when local councils will fine you over dog business, so to speak. And that's fair enough because it is very unpleasant to look at. It's disgusting. But I also believe councils should provide dog bins and provide the bags so that you can do it. Because poop scoops, so to speak, are not actually that easy to find in this country, or at least not in my city. So councils should, in my opinion, if they're going to fine people for doing that, i.e. for not cleaning up the dog's business, at least they should provide the resources to do that. And the same applies to other things like recycling. If they're going to fine a household for not recycling, then they should provide the facilities. That kind of goes without saying. So yeah, dog owners not controlling the dogs, that's irritating. Another one is if you go into a shop and the assistant behind the till is having a conversation with her friend or his friend, and they're just in a world of their own. And that's, I'll give them a few seconds. But when you're still waiting there, clearly waiting to be served, that's just very disrespectful. It's just not, I don't expect them to be robots, certainly not, but they're being paid to serve the customer, and it does irritate me because I know if I was doing that job, I would put the customer first, not what they'd done the night before in a certain nightclub. I couldn't care less. It's quite irritating, especially if you're in a rush and you've other business to get on with, and you're waiting patiently. Now, I'm not talking about situations whereby they're dealing with another customer. That's fine. In fact, in those situations, the customers can get on my nerves when they're being very sort of lack empathy, and they're putting a lot of pressure on a worker, an assistant who is trying their level best under difficult circumstances. The same applies in airports. Look, we've all had problems with delayed flights and so on. Yes, it's very unpleasant, it's very stressful, but sometimes you get sort of jobs taken out on some poor assistant who is only trying to do their job and they're only following orders from the top. You can't, give someone a hard time because they're only following orders. That's or only, they're on a hierarchy, and it really isn't their fault. All they're doing is relaying the information. I mean, obviously, if they give you the wrong information and then come back and give you something else, etc. But people should, it doesn't make anyone's day easier by yelling in someone's face in that way. So yeah, I don't appreciate that. Well, I've ran off quite a few there. Another one, when people simplify complex issues. I did say this wouldn't be a political video so much, but it does irritate me when people sort of look at international affairs. I have seen this occasionally online, and they'll put a very simple, simplistic sort of statement like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And they'll ask very basic questions without understanding the context of the wider issue. I'm not going to name any specific examples because that will just be a distraction and it will sort of lead away from the main point I'm trying to make. But there's very few international issues, big current affairs that are very simplistic. Most issues are complex and they require, or they inevitably result in a complex approach. So when people, make simplistic statements like war is bad, well, yeah, we can see it's bad, but that isn't the answer. It's sometimes people, and at the risk of sounding snobby here or arrogant, Um, I do follow current affairs more than some people do, and I can see, looking at the statements some people make, they are not taking into account the context of a bigger situation. I certainly don't know everything, but I do recognise that most situations are not black and white. Some situations are. Terrorism is bad. Torture is bad. Those, in my opinion, are black and white. But there's other issues that are a lot more complex, and sometimes it's a case of, well, what is the lesser evil? Situations like that I'm talking about, where people simplify it. Anyway, this video is really about more minor irritations or irritations, things that irritate me. I don't want to talk too much about this one because it's more political, it's more heavy. But the part that irritates me is when people make simplistic statements about big issues. I'm not talking about people who have a different opinion to me. That's one thing, and we can have a debate about that. And quite often my opponents in those debates will come out with just as much comprehensive information as myself. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people who make very simplistic sort of statements on very big issues that they clearly know nothing about at all. Most people don't know everything about a given subject, but some people know nothing, and then when they try to weigh in on it, and they clearly don't know what they're talking about, that's really quite irritating. When they expect world leaders to be supermen and do everything, it's just stupid. And the other thing is sweeping statements, sweeping generalizations about groups of people, but also sweeping statements like the media lie. I've heard this one a few times. That's not true. It's true that there's large portions of the media distort, and yes, in some cases lie, but it's not that common that they make outright lies. And that's just a sweeping statement, and in my opinion that's unfair on those decent journalists who are ethical in the way they report. You get this sleazy tabloid paparazzi type journalists, then you get professional journalists who are genuinely interested in trying to get out the story. But to say the media lie, the media is a massive, broad-ranging concept. It includes so many things. It includes print media, includes television media, includes online media. Some people say the media lie. It's a stupid statement because it's so, you can accuse certain aspects of the media of lying, fair enough, maybe certain companies or whatever, but those sort of sweeping statements just, maybe it's because I'm an English teacher, I'm quite pedantic about wording, but words are important, and when people make those sort of statements, it's just, I have 2 minutes left, and those 2 minutes I'm going to talk about geographical ignorance, when it's willful. Now, growing up in England, being from Northern Ireland, I made a video specifically about this, so I won't touch too much on it, but just when people are like, oh, so you're from Ireland? Well, I'm from Northern Ireland. Oh yeah, I went to Ireland once. And it's like, bloody hell, is it so difficult to understand that word northern? I won't dwell too much on this. I'm not sectarian minded, but just, to me it's willful ignorance. When you've told someone where you're from, and then they deliberately insist on saying the wrong place, or a term that's not valid. It's just, that irritates me. It's the same with some English people seem to think that they represent the whole UK. Like, they'll be like, I heard some people last year say, oh, I'm really proud of this country. Everything we've done this year, we've had the Olympics and so on. I'm really proud of England. Well, it wasn't England, it was the United Kingdom that done that. And then when you hear Americans, no disrespect to my American viewers, but it is true, talk about England as a substitute term for the United Kingdom. Let me make this very clear. England is not one and the same as the United Kingdom. England is simply one of the home nations, and it happens to be the biggest, but it's not a substitute term. There is no such thing as the English Prime Minister. There is no such thing as English foreign policy. There is no such thing as an English Queen. Okay? There is a British monarch, there's a British Prime Minister, and there's British foreign policy. It's not the same thing. Yes, there is a country called England, but it happens to be a constituent country of the United Kingdom. I don't have time to explain it here, but yeah, basically geographical ignorance, saying the wrong things for the wrong places. That does get on my goat. And I believe I've just about covered everything there. No doubt there'll be other things that I can throw in, but for now that will do. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts if you agree with any of those. Throw in some of your own, and yeah, that will do. Thank you very much.